This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Finance Minister Laziz Faid has stressed that the year 2025 would be a pivotal year for the process of deepening economic reforms and supporting stability. Algeria has welcomed the adoption by the UN Security Council of the resolution extending the mandate of the AU Mission for Support and Stabilization in Somalia, OSOM. As the Israeli army pursued its pounding of the Gaza Strip, the health authorities expressed concern at the critical situation prevailing in the territory in the wake of the violent assault launched on the Al Adwan hospital. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First, the Minister of Finance, Laziz Faid, has stressed that the year 2025 would be a pivotal year for the process of deepening economic reforms and supporting stability. Addressing a meeting of the National Commission for the Evaluation of the Risks of Money Laundering, Terrorist Financing and the Financing of the Proliferation of Weapons of Mass Destruction held at the Ministry's headquarters, Mr. Faid said that 2025 would also be a pivotal year for broadening the tax base, which will make it possible to manage the risks associated with the informal economy and cash transactions. The minister reiterated the need to maintain the same pace of work for the National Coordination Committee, especially as he said the challenges ahead will not tolerate any slackening or procrastination. The meeting's agenda included the examining of the priorities set, notably proposals for additional measures to mitigate the risks of money laundering, financing, and the fight against terrorism, with a view to submitting them to the National Committee for approval. The meeting also provided an opportunity to discuss the progress of the works of the National Coordination Committee for lifting the reservations of the Financial Action Task Force. Mr. Faid also examined the main decisions approved during the last meeting, as well as the main actions carried out over the past period, and highlighted the important measures contained in the Finance Law of 2025, notably the generalization of electronic means of payment, which will enhance the transparency of transactions and ensure their traceability, and which are scheduled to come into force in January 2025. Algeria has welcomed, on behalf of the A3+ group, the adoption of the UN Security Council of a resolution extending the mandate of the AU Mission for Support and Stabilization in Somalia, OSOM. Addressing the UN Security members or Security Council members, Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, Ammar Benjama, stated that the mission is a crucial step in Somalia's state edification and stability efforts. Let's listen to Mr. Benjama.
Today's resolution marks an important milestone in Somalia's pathway in consolidating state building and stability. We are confident that the deployment of the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission, AUSOM, will be a clear added value in the security landscape and the crucial support for the efforts deployed by the federal government of Somalia.
Mr. Benjama also emphasized that the adoption of the AU Mission for Support and Stabilization in Somalia is a test for the international community in supporting the African Union efforts to address its security challenges.
The A3+, guided by the African Union, have expressed their support to the hybrid option for the implementation of the Framework Resolution 2719 as the only viable and applicable option for the case of AUSOM during the phases of the mission. We defended the path while insisting on the imperative to ensure predictability, sustainability, and flexibility.
This came as the UN Security Council has authorized the African Union to deploy its new peacekeeping mission for 12 months starting from January 1st, 2025. The Security Council adopted with 14 yes votes against one abstention from the United States Resolution 2767 of 2024, which authorized the deployment of the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission in Somalia, OSOM. OSOM will succeed the AU Transitional Mission in Somalia, whose mandate was extended until December 31st, 2024 by Resolution 2748. The Moroccan Association for Human Rights, AMDH, has expressed its solidarity with its president, Aziz Ghali, who has been the victim of heinous violations in recent days in Morocco, affirming that his position in favor of the self-determination of the Sahrawi people is in line with the historical positions of the association. The support given by Aziz Ghali to the exercise by the Sahrawi people of their right to self-determination is in line with the historical positions of the association and in no way contradicts the positions of the United Nations and even those of the Moroccan state, stressed the AMDH in a statement of solidarity with its president. The association noted in this regard that its position on the conflict in Western Sahara corresponds to what is indicated in the fourth paragraph of the report of the UN Secretary General of October 1st, 2024 and approved by the UN Security Council. It also noted that Morocco has ratified the resolution of the Fourth Committee of the United Nations General Assembly on Western Sahara and that the Moroccan Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement in this regard on October 31st, 2024 in which it expressed its agreement and satisfaction with the resolution. In its decision adopted on October 17, the Fourth Committee of the United Nations General Assembly, in charge of special political and decolonization issues, reaffirmed the inalienable right of all the people to self-determination and independence in accordance with the principles of the United Nations Charter and General Assembly Resolution 1514 of December 14, 1960, relating to the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonized Countries and Peoples. Shifting now to the Middle East, where the Israeli army is pursuing its pounding of the Gaza Strip, and the health authorities expressed concerns at the critical situation prevailing in the territory's northern part in the wake of the violent assault launched on the Al Adwan hospital. According to Palestinian sources, scores of the hospital staff members, including its director, were taken by the Israeli forces to a detention center for questioning. The World Health Organization affirmed that the hospital was out of action after its nearby area was hit by strikes. It pointed out that 60 members of the medical staff and 25 patients were in a critical condition after several key departments of the hospital were set ablaze and destroyed during the Israeli assault. This was confirmed by physician Noor, who used to work at the Al Adwan hospital. Let's listen to her.
The
Israeli forces launched their assault on the Al Adwan hospital on Friday at dawn. Then vehicles and bulldozers got closer to the hospital. First they fired at all the departments. Some were set ablaze, including the operating room, the surgery and the emergency services.
The Israeli attack on the Al Adwan hospital, one of the last major hospitals still operational in Gaza's northern part, was strongly condemned, notably by the director of field hospitals in Gaza, Marwan Al-Hemsa.
The healthcare system is being targeted daily by the Israeli occupation. The latter entered Kamal Adwan hospital, evacuated and removed all the medical staff under threats of weapons, aircrafts and snipers. We now have no idea what is happening with our brothers, medical staff colleagues or patients who need to be hospitalized and need to be taken care of. The Israeli occupation forced them to leave on foot regardless. Their fate, whether they are killed or at best got arrested, remains unknown. Therefore, we call on you to raise our voice to the Security Council in order to hold a session and submit a complaint to stop this occupation's practices.
The assault also triggered off many reactions, notably by the Palestinian Hamas movement head Youssef Hamdan.
The occupation continues spreading lies to obfuscate, cover and justify its crimes against our Palestinian people, recently in Kamal Adwan Hospital. We in Hamas firmly deny any presence of military or resistant fighters in the hospital, whether Qassam brigades or other factions. The hospital was wide open to everyone, both international and UN organizations, which are well acquainted with the hospital. These organizations know that the occupation is lying to justify the heinous crimes committed today by evacuating and burning the hospital's departments as part of the plan for genocide and forced displacement. We call on the United Nations to condemn the occupation army for destroying Kamal Adwan Hospital and to form a UN investigation committee to assess the magnitude of the crime being carried out in northern Gaza, as well as to work towards providing medical services for our people after the occupation destroyed all the healthcare facilities in the area.
Earlier, the National Council expressed deep concerns at the disastrous humanitarian conditions facing the over 2 million displaced people in the Gaza Strip. It affirmed that the extreme cold and diseases that are causing daily the death of children and elderly, as well as the continued Israeli bombardments that are returning the tents sheltering displaced into mass graves. With this, we come to the end of this news bulletin for today. Time now for a weekly program, starting with my colleague Miriam Bershi with a roundup around the main events of 2024. It will be followed by another program by my colleague Azia Gassias. For me, I'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Thank you.
In 2024, Africa faced a complex and multifaceted crisis marked by rising poverty levels and escalating displacement due to ongoing conflicts, economic instability, and the impacts of climate change. The World Bank projected that African economies would grow by 3.4% in 2024, a recovery from the 2.6%